I finally finished the Escape from Tarkov Labyrinth event, and today I'm going to showcase off some of the rewards, explain the event in general as to how it's actually performed, was it a good event, and of course go through my final loadout and things that I found about the event, as well as tell you exactly how much I made from saving all of the loot that we did in order to actually go through all of those, which is about 7 raids on Labyrinth, I believe, is how many times we had to actually run through the Labyrinth to complete all of the tasks, taking out Killa or Tagilla as well. Let's first take a look at the new Hideout, which is the exclusive to the event. Of course, you can get this by doing the Lightkeeper task and essentially completing the event as well to get the standard achievement, and then you can get a further achievement, which is by stashing 3 cultist knives in the actual labyrinth at specified locations, and you get this cool looking hideout. I absolutely love that they added in some new kind of hideout items that are exclusive to some of the events and being able to complete the actual events themselves. And of course this one I think just generally looks really good in the hideout, like all of the changes that they've made. They've got even posters that you get from the event itself, so you can see over here in this room we've got this poster, we have the latter boss defeated poster, we've also got this one somewhere over here, the run poster, and a couple of others as well. I think there's one in the gym somewhere. At this time I want to take a quick pause just to ask you to like the video, as it is the best thing that you can possibly do to help me out, and it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, so I would really appreciate it if you did. But with that being said, let's jump straight back in, not waste any of your time. Yeah, you're getting a ton of actual items that are exclusive to the event, only available when you do complete the achievements, which I think is really good. I've found that to be probably one of the best reasons, motivations to go ahead and actually do the event, because you never know, maybe it never comes back, maybe you're never able to complete that achievement again. I would suspect that the labyrinth is going to be a permanent addition, and I think Nikita is planning on that being the case, with some changes to make it even better, I believe was his statement. And so don't take my word for word on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be really interesting to see where the labyrinth goes. Looks like they may be connecting it to other maps. Seems like the labyrinth is potentially going to have a missile silo. On Twitter they released a image of that. And so yeah, really surprising stuff from BSG. Some great additions, I think, in general. But then we have, what kind of loadout did we actually run? Well, this was the loadout I was running to take out Tagilla and of course Killa in those raids. Now, in terms of the weapons that we did use previously, I ended up using some 300 Blackout AP with the MCX, which is what I started off with, but we ran out of rounds very quickly because Blackout AP is a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. But then we swapped over to 5.56x45 using M995, which gives us level 5 penetration with very high and level 6 penetration low, which enables us to actually go through a lot of the armor in the game. So 53 pen is pretty decent. It's not like the utmost best thing that you're going to ever find, but as a cheaper way and a way where we have a ton of rounds, I think we have 2,876 rounds of M995, whereas the Blackout AP, we only had like 400 rounds or something at the time, maybe 500, which we kind of replenished during the runs as well, because we were getting boxes of like 50 when we were doing some of the runs as well. So yeah, we used up quite a bit of ammunition doing it, because you're basically mag dumping the Tagilla and Killa as they come around corners with the 60 round mags. So we use the 60 round mags on both the HK, which is what we ran in the end, and the Blackout AP as well with the MCX, which worked out really well. Then in terms of armor, we went with just a Redut. We started off with Thors, but they're just a little bit heavier, and the Redoubt actually works out quite well, the samurai armor. And this one, of course, we swapped out a level 5 plate for a level 6 plate in the front, and then just 2 level 6 side plates. But the level 6 front plate is what you need. Level 5 back plate, because, I mean, most of the time you're facing the bosses dead on as they sprint towards you once they notice that you are there. And then helmet-wise, I found that the bosses didn't really ever go for the head a whole lot. Maybe sometimes they did if you got super close to them, where when you're hitting them, their recoil actually goes up and hits your head. But they never seem to really aim for the head, and that seems to be something that I found with most of the AIs. Occasionally you will, if the only thing visible is your head. But in terms of everything else, they usually go for thorax or arms and stuff like that, rather than just those headshots. I don't know if it is to do with the fact that maybe BSG trying to tone down the AI so it doesn't go for the head instantly, so you don't just get one tapped as you poked around a corner. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it still happens, just a lot less frequently than what you would expect on something like PvP, where everyone is knowing to aim for the head. So level 4 armor on the top of the head. And then we used a Vulcan face mask as well, just to provide some kind of comfort against some of the shotgun scavs, and of course running on shoreline as well, just making sure you don't get taken out by a scav, in which time you have to wait for your insurance to come back, and it just wastes you a lot of time. That didn't happen in any of my raids. We could just run straight into the area down in the basement by the pool. But in terms of PMCs, there are some that spawn on the stairs. If you don't already know, they pretty much always spawn in by where you have to run down the stairs. So as you come into the building on West Wing, that's kind of where you need to be checking down the corridor, and of course hitting up the key area where you can get the Knossos LLC facility key. I pretty much, when I was running, was just checking that every time, and the spawns are static. Or not static, but there are static spawns for the key, and they spawn in various different locations. So there's only one key in every single map, but you can pick up one of the spawns of the key right next to where you actually have to go down. So I always just checked it up on the kind of open, the closed door room. You go in, there's a PC, and it's on the table next to the monitor, and so we just grabbed this one up as we went through, and of course we got plenty of keys for the Knossos area. So yeah, we're never going to run out of those keys. The other thing is we were running just standard backpacks. We didn't want to be too heavy, and I didn't want to have to keep dropping my backpack all the time. And of course, some of the backpacks you can't actually get that often, so if you're getting taken out quite a lot, you know, you may not want to do that. But the T20 backpack, in terms of what we were using, was absolutely fine. I mean, you can min-max your backpack to however you want. It's just personal preference. And then tactical rigs, we just made sure that we had a decent number of slots. And one of the great things about this is that you can essentially go in and find rigs that you can drop into your backpack, and that is what you can use as additional space. For example, the Thunderbolt has a 3x3, so 9 slots, but it actually has 8 lots of 2, so you're going to have 16 slots for 9. So in terms of saving space, that is what you're going to find the best. So essentially we would just run 2 Thunderbolts that we picked up off of the guards, or just micro rigs or something, and then put those into the backpack, and that saves us the space. I ran with a sick case, docs case. This is because there's a ton of items that can go into both the sick and docs case, especially the intel folders and the Labrys access, or the Labrys folders, as well as the keys and the Ariadne's key, and just general rare loot spawns that can go into both of these. An injector case, we always bring in 2 XTGs just in case you accidentally walk into the poison, which is a pain in the backside, especially when you're trying to run. And then another thing that I would have taken in if I just could be bothered was taking in a Leatherman's multi-tool, just so you can snip down those grenade traps that bit quicker. That's probably the biggest thing that I would have changed about the runs. And then, yeah, just drop out all of your special slots, because you can always put things that you find in there into your special slots if you find paracords or whatever in some of the technical crates and stuff. So something to note. Didn't take any nades, really. I took like one nade every run just to save space, and the nades don't actually work against the bosses, which is, yeah, a little bit and kind of weird. I would have thought that maybe even if they just reduce the damage that the nades do, I'm not entirely sure. It just doesn't seem like even if you hit them in the face with an impact, it does anything. So yeah, that definitely sucks, and something that I would have liked to have seen changed, at least where they take some damage. But yeah, maybe that was just me getting super unlucky every single time I threw a nade, but it didn't seem to do anything to the bosses. And then we ran a Condor just for extra eye protection, just in case. Armor class 1, of course. But yeah, just some additional protection, to be honest. Mainly for shotgun shells, as Tagilla loves his AP-20 shotgun slugs, I guess, with the Sega. And then that is pretty much the loadout I ran. When you go in, I was basically running to, like, through the room, get your key open, get the door open, and then I always basically very slowly, methodically moved out from the area, and then got aggro from the boss or one of the scavs, and in that kind of time, they'll all start charging you. This is the time where you run back into your own kind of location area. So you really don't have to move out of your location area very much unless you're running into, you know, some of the longer spawn areas, if that makes sense. I believe it's like the shotgun trap has a really long one, as well as the toxic puddle, I believe, something like that, has a really long exit to get out of the room. So yeah, you just basically run back to the nearest door, or if you spawn in any of the other locations, run back into the room that you actually came from. And that way they'll all push you. You can hold the door, and you can pre-aim like the tunnels or wherever the boss is going to come, like outside of your door. So the next door over, like say if there's a tunnel that you've come through and then a room and then your room, you pre-aim in the door that your room was in at the tunnel entrance. And that way you can just dump a mags. Often the bosses, especially Tagilla, gets like glitched or something. I don't know what's going on, but he kind of like freezes up and does nothing. I don't know if it's server-side lag. I definitely experienced lag when I was in there. It is not a local server, I don't believe. I think it is a BSG-controlled server because of the fact that, yeah, I mean, you can Alt F4 out of there and you get put back into the raid, I believe. So, yeah, I was not finding that you could do that, at least for me personally, even if you go into a local raid on Shoreline. So, there's no safe way of going into the labyrinth so far that I could find, but maybe that's just I was doing something wrong, I'll be honest. But at the same time, if you know, when you've kind of taken out some of the guards, what you'll find is, for some reason, Tagilla doesn't always spawn with killa. Now, I don't know why that is, but essentially, sometimes you will have both of them spawn in there. Sometimes you'll just have Tagilla. So, when you are kind of going into your raids and deciding what you want to do, you've got to make sure that you have enough mags to be able to take out both of them. So that's why I usually run 3 60 rounders, or I'll have 2 60 rounders and then I will grab in a 30 rounder or 2 30 rounders. That way you save space on taking in a ton of ammunition, because just in case, you know, maybe all of the scavs, you miss a few, maybe you unload a full like 40 rounds into Tagilla or something, or like 30 rounds, half a mag, and then you take out some scavs, and then you try and take out Tagilla, and then the guards and stuff like that. It just gives you the time where you don't have to stop and reload, especially in those clutch situations, because it is literally a, I don't know, 10 to 20 second encounter between when the boss attacks you and when you take them out, all of them. So the scavs, the bosses, all at the same time, about 20 seconds. So it's really, really quick. Obviously dependent on how you're playing. I mean, if you're constantly running backwards every time you encounter one thing, then yeah, it's going to be longer. But for the majority, it's going to be like 20 seconds from the start to the finish, so you're just not going to have time to pack mags at all or heal. One thing to do, pop a propitol before you actually get into a fight with the bosses. So once you come out of the tunnel and you get it to the nearest room where you're actually in the labyrinth area, you pop a propitol, you pop your painkillers or whatever, and then you can essentially just push the boss. Once you get aggro, once again, return back to where you came from, and then just pre-aim and take them out. From there, we were basically just hitting up all of the static spawns, or the different areas where the labyrinth research notes will spawn. It spawns every raid in one in there's, I think it's like 6 spawns for the labyrinth research notes, or maybe it's, I think it's 6. But it's in like the weapons testing area place, and so you go in there and you'll find the actual spawns for the labyrinth research notes, which is required for some of the tasks. I found that really useful, because basically it meant you had to complete 5 raids. Sometimes the boss will spawn with labyrinth research notes, and there is also the spawn on the map itself, so you can get 2. Sometimes the scavs, I believe, can have the labyrinth research notes as well, so always check the scavs pockets and the rigs just in case they do have them on them, because they're not technically scavs, they're like bosses. So yeah, definitely be checking those out. Seems like they nerfed the XP at some point later on down the line during the event recently, because I was getting like 60k XP for taking out like 10 enemies, and now I'm getting like 30k XP max for taking out like 12 or maybe even more. So yeah, that definitely has changed from what I can tell. Not 100% on that, but it definitely seems like XP has changed. The other thing is there is a ton of rare loot spawns basically on every box, every container that you want to be looking at. And so let's jump over to the loot and kind of go through how much we made. I've got 2 boxes full of loot from 7 raids that we did do on the labyrinth. Now, all of these are successful raids only, so even if we got taken out and we got stuff in our back, yeah, we just put that into the quick sell case, not the loot run case that you can see right here. So all of this is stuff that goes into a thick items case, and down here we've got the scav junk box of all of the stuff that we found. So yeah, maybe we should sort this just so you can see. This is a complete power filter farm. We didn't even pick up all of the power filters because I've done all of my hideout upgrades, so I do not need them at all. And of course, there is a ton of intel folders as well that we managed to pick up. You can see this labyrinth research notes was from completing the final task that we did for Lightkeeper. A ton of defibs. Now, defibs are, well, they were about 600k. They're down very cheap at the moment. So if you want to make a bit of money, buy a load of defibs. They're used for the thick items case barter that people do. I believe it's defibs and then LEDXs, I think. So people do those, and they're usually at like 400 to 500k per piece. They're about half price at the moment. You've got a load of GPUs. These are basically pointless now. They're only 160k because, of course, the thing that was driving them up in price was the fact that you needed them for the Bitcoin farm. And so, yeah, the Bitcoin farm requiring, 50 graphics cards. Of course, we've got 18 in the stash, and there's just no point selling them. I'm hoping at some point down the line, I'll keep them in my stash. But essentially, yeah, we'll just keep them in there and then use them during an event or something that requires graphics cards, maybe. Of course, a ton of stims lying around everywhere, like the high tier stims as well, so SJ6 ETGs, and then the mules as well that we find. A ton of XTGs. That's because I'm pretty sure BSG want you to be able to recover from the poison and find them everywhere. Bosses and scavs will have XTGs on them. Ammunition that you get from the bosses is absolutely broken. This is some of the ammunition that we got, and of course in here. Now, these are not all of the ammunition. I didn't take some of it, especially if Tagilla had the AP20 slugs, but they are worth quite a bit, I think, if you sell them to Mechanic or something like that. Maybe you can't actually sell them, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, in terms of ammunition, PPBS, one of the best rounds in the game. And so yeah, you could use that and just run PPBS if you wanted to, taking out the bosses. We primarily aim for upper thorax level, like neck level. When we're taking out the boss, and just spam, like you just spray the boss and they die before they can do anything to you. Sometimes, of course, they'll still hit you, especially if Tagilla has the shotgun from range. You do not want to fight that from range. You want them to get like mid-distance. Don't try and long shot them from distance, because that will just take your arms off every single round and cause you to have horrific bleeds as well. So it's just not a good idea, to be honest. You can see 10% chance to bleed, and the Sega just absolutely rinses you as well. We've got quite a few of the moonshines. These spawn everywhere. We also have dog tag cases, keycard cases, and some of the docs cases that we actually managed to get due to the fact that they do spawn in the corpses room. So this is a really good spawn to go and check. It also has a static spawn. Now, all of the static spawns and stuff I covered in a guide to the labyrinth, which covers the actual spawns and stuff like that of them. But of course, then you've got a load of just rare loot as well. So that is the stuff in there. And then, yeah, once again, all of this. So in terms of how much money we actually made, for me personally, it was a net zero, because of the fact that we started on about 1.28 billion when we started the event, and we finished on 1.28 billion. So when I sell all of this, which is probably like 20 million, we'll have made 20 million, but we probably would have made about 40 million. Probably just because of the fact that the cultist knives, which is to do the full completion of the event, so it's like doing all of the event tasks and then completing all of the side tasks. You can see the cultist knives are 5 million. I didn't have any on me, and I couldn't be bothered to go and hunt down cultists because I didn't know when the event was ending, so I just went and spent 15 to, I think it was like 20 mil, because I accidentally put one in my holster for saving space and then it got deleted. Yep, I know, idiot. But at the same time, yeah, nothing to worry about. If you've got Kappa, just drop out all of your health stims and some of the ammunition. You can store all of 3 of those in your pouch, or just don't take a sick case and just do the event that way. And that way you can fit in all of your things that you need and then take out the ammunition. So just have your injectors or docs or whatever way you want to do it around. So what was my overall experience of the whole event? I think we'll kind of summarize out this video. I think I've gone through everything that we kind of did to complete the task. Probably one thing I'll mention is the longest one is just taking out enemies, eliminating enemies in the actual labyrinth. The best thing to do is just, once you've taken out the bosses, take out all of the guards at the same time, and then just wait for a while in the labyrinth, because I think there are 2 spawns of, or like 2 waves of the guards slash scavs that will spawn periodically. So you essentially get another 6 enemies, potentially 7. Some of them can have groups of 4. And so you just wait for those to actually spawn. In that time, just go and loot. Make sure that you're listening out for footsteps, and you'll basically hear them. And then you just pre-aim the door that they're going to sprint through. They pretty much know where you are, and they'll aggro you and then sprint after you. So just pre-aim the doors, and that is going to be perfect. Like, you're not going to have to worry. And then you can get anywhere from like 10 to 12 enemies eliminated every single run. And so that is the quickest way that I found. All of the other tasks you can do pretty much straight away to be able to do it. The task that I actually didn't do for ages was the ones that were actually like the therapist quest and stuff like that. So the Tarkov butcher and the ones on different maps. But those were just literally one raid, run in, go find the thing, come back out, go to a different location, drop the thing off, etc. So that was just something I did to finish up the quest line. So you have to complete all side tasks to be able to unlock the Lightkeeper quest. Go to Lightkeeper, get the quest, go out of the raid, go do the quest in the labyrinth by placing in the cultist knives, go back to Lighthouse, hand in the quest to Lightkeeper once you've done that, and then you can go ahead and get the new hideout, which is what the event is all about. So what is my overall opinion? It is the fact that this event has it all. I think it has both the rewards, so the loot that you can get. It is very challenging. I'm seeing a lot of comments about people just really struggling with the event, but hopefully my kind of explanation after playing a lot of the labyrinth during this last 2 days. I was just basically spamming out the labyrinth trying to get videos. I went 5 or 6 raids in a row without getting taken out by the bosses or anything like that. So we pretty much nailed it down, just sprinting back to the spawn location after aggroing them and taking them out that way. So yeah, if you want to play it more fast and loose and have a bit more risk, then you can run in and try and take them out. Maybe you've got better kind of high damage ammunition, so you can just like triple or 4 tap them with level 6 penetration. But I was just running some of the rounds that I had lying around, and I wanted a bit of a challenge at the same time, because it gives you that thrill. And yeah, Tarkov PV has definitely been something, especially for me, that hasn't had too many challenges recently, or at least like seriously challenging tasks, if that makes sense, where you're really having to concentrate and focus and not actually have music on in the background when you're playing. So yeah, that was something that I found really interesting and really fun about the whole event. And I'm really hoping that they'll continue these types of events when they do have new content drops, because I'm sure that this is going to be a new content drop for essentially the Labyrinth. So there will be a permanent Labyrinth edition at some point in the future where they'll bring it back as a permanent bit like Labs is. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And of course, the no insurance has actually meant we can finally clear out all of the stash of all of some of the just trashy stuff that I'd hoarded. I mean, yeah, I could have done this anyway, but it gave me a reason to go through and use some of the random rigs and stuff. And it means that if you're a continuing subscriber or someone that watches the channel, having this much space, this is a very rare occurrence. So yeah, it's really nice to have that again. And of course we can go and buy more thick cases, but you know, just hoarding for the sake of it, not particularly too fun anyway, because you run out of space eventually. So yeah, I think the event was amazing. It's probably the best event I have ever done. I genuinely think that this is the best Tarkov event that I've personally actually got on board with and gave a go. Of course, the all bosses on Shoreline is also a very fun event because it's really challenging and gives you something to work towards. So yeah, I really think that you guys should definitely get in and try it out if you haven't already, or I wish you the best of luck to try and complete it before the event actually ends. As I say, just try out what I did. It worked really well, and you know, you should be able to get it done as well if you follow a similar sort of thing. So just don't go running into the main area or anything like that. That's how you're going to get instant taken out, because you need to be pre-aiming where they're coming from before you actually poke around any corners. So yeah, that's something to note. But with that being said, I'm going to close out the video and let me know what your thoughts are on this whole event. I found it to be amazing. So yeah, maybe you absolutely hated it, maybe you think it's terrible for the game, I don't know. But let me know your thoughts. That's just my opinion. And of course, I will see you in the next one. Be sure to like it if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more Escape from Tarkov content. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.